the main idea? We know that the main idea of a text is the most important point that the author is making about the topic or subject. And the details are the key points that support. These things have a main idea. Single sentences. Each sentence, or even down to each clause, will have a main idea. From sentences, we can step up to groups of sentences, which we call paragraphs. Paragraphs have got a main idea. Chapters of a book have a main idea. And whole books have a main idea. The bigger the text we get, though, the more complicated the job of finding the main idea becomes. Finding the main idea of a whole book, suddenly, because there's so much content, becomes far more debatable. Main ideas are almost always supported by details within the text. Maybe not so much in those single clauses or single sentences, but certainly from paragraph level up, a main idea should have details. Let's look at some examples, and I'm going to start with a single sentence. I said single sentence. I lied. Let's start with a single verse. Romans 2 verse 1. Some of you accuse others of doing wrong, but there is no excuse for what you do. When you judge others, you condemn yourselves, because you are guilty of doing the very same thing. Main idea, we're just as guilty as those we accuse. We can move up from there to a paragraph, and if you read Romans 2 verses 1 to 4, we can sum that up in a main idea supported by details that God is the only right. Move to the whole of Romans chapter 2, and if you read that, now this is getting into slightly more debatable territory because Romans chapter 2 is quite big and it's got two main parts, but my interpretation was that the main idea of Romans chapter 2 is an instruction to humbly allow God to be. We've got the whole book of Romans. Again, the bigger this gets, the more debatable this becomes because the book of Romans is so rich and full of content. But we might say that the main idea of the book of the Romans is that we're justified by faith. All right, from Romans is the whole Bible. And this is where it becomes even more debatable because different people will have different interpretations. I said, well, perhaps the whole Bible is working towards the good news of salvation. And that's the main idea supported by those details. But like I said, the bigger the text we use, the broader it becomes and the harder it is to pin down to that main idea. But it's still a really good exercise to do because then, now if I have decided that I'm going to look out for this theme of the Bible being the good news of salvation, it will help my understanding as I read through the details in the Bible. If I'm trying to make those connections and those links between the details to the main idea. So that's why using the main idea is a really helpful comprehension skill as we read.